for the opportunity to give some comments on the topic of the workshop, Landscape Off Limits, and the title shows we have to think about off limits. Take away the limits. This is the idea of the workshop, and the site we are working on is very, very interesting and shows the new possibilities and the new challenges for the development of Piacenza. Looking back to the history of Piacenza, there was always the big respect about the nature and the power of the river, which was not possible to, very difficult to handle with. So because the river was flowing and you never know which way it would take after the flooding. And the city itself was established a little bit higher over the river, and so there was always this gap of respect between the city and the river. And bringing these two things together is something which is possible in nowadays. And it's happening all over the world that people are thinking, okay, it's not only a dirty area, it's not only an area which was dominated by harbors, or it's an ugly area in some cases. It's one of the most interesting areas where land and water are connected. And this is also a very interesting place for recreational areas. And we have to deal, and we have now the opportunities, also technical opportunities to work to bring these different aspects together and combine something in a new way. And this brings me to the second question. The COVID-19 situation brought back our understanding of the importance of recreational areas for the people inside and all around the cities. And it's not necessary to travel far away to enjoy the leisure time and to get some good, enjoy the time with friends. And it's necessary to go out and spend the time in the nature or in the landscape or in parks and wherever. And this is now the big challenge for the 21st century. And looking back to the 20th century, all these areas around the cities were taken over. This brings me to the next question. Taken over by industrial areas or housing areas, or maybe also traffic corridors. And these are now the problems sometimes, because they are, from the urban planning perspective, are isolating the center of the city, and there is sometimes not really nice connection left over for getting in touch with the landscape around. And this is the big possibility for Piacenza to establish something really unique, but therefore along the Po River. But therefore you have to um, deal with the existing traffic corridors, for example, in this case, the highway, which is existing there, and you have to deal with it and use it as a kind of element which is not only separating landscape and the city itself, it should be a part of the new development. And it's not a problem. There is also a pro in the problem. And the pro in the problem means you have to deal with a situation and maybe do something very unique in this special situation. For example, if you have the highway as a border and you respect the highway as a border, you will not find a possibility to jump over or go underneath. But you have to find structures which are so strong and so powerful that the highway itself is just a piece of this situation and this location. And maybe it's when you see here the city center, it's you go through with some elements. Maybe it's constructing our city parts, or it's building, or it's also a park which is connecting both sides, and it has to be a very strong part of design. And therefore it's I see a lot of options and possibilities for the city of Piacenza to develop this area now in the next decades as a new border and for the city itself, and spread out the city over the limits of the medieval borders and jump to the landscape of the Po River and bring these things together as a kind of link, build a link between these two elements, the nature on one side and the city itself. And it could be a really good possibility. And now is the time to think about this as not only as infrastructure or things of industrial sites and so on and so on. Yeah, we have to think about the possibilities of landscape architecture and urban planning, and as a new power to bring things together and enliven the city of Piacenza and make a new positive side of the whole city in the direction of the Po.